When Olivia opened her late husband's will, she expected grief, not confusion, not betrayal. But there it was, a name she had never heard before. To Harper Ellison, I leave the lake house. Where are you listening from tonight? Tell me in the comments. Because what you're about to hear might just make you question how well you really know the person sleeping next to you. The lawyer's office smelled faintly of old leather and burnt coffee. The ticking wall clock filled the silence between gasps as Olivia's trembling hands folded the will once more. Her husband, Marcus Hale, had been gone barely 3 weeks. A heart attack that left her hollow and sleepless. They'd been married for 18 years. She thought she knew every secret, every scar. But who was Harper Ellison? The name scratched her memory like a faint echo she couldn't place. Olivia looked toward the lawyer, Mr. Grant, whose brows furrowed in practiced sympathy. She was mentioned specifically, Mrs. Hale. Marcus insisted on it. Do you know her? Olivia shook her head slowly. No, never heard that name before. Mr. Grant's polite tone couldn't mask the curiosity in his eyes. Marcus seemed certain you would understand when the time came. The word struck her like cold rain. When the time came. That night, Olivia sat alone in the living room of their quiet home. The rain whispered against the window, matching the rhythm of her restless thoughts. She had always trusted Marcus. Through their hard years, their rebuilt dreams, but the will changed something inside her. A seed of doubt. She wandered to the old photo cabinet, flicking through faded pictures. Their wedding day in spring light, a trip to the mountains, Marcus holding her hand on the pier, but no Harper. Not once. Her reflection in the glass stared back. Tired eyes, but a will to understand. Maybe it was a mistake. Maybe Harper was a relative. Or maybe it was something darker. The next morning, she called her husband's closest friend, Ryan, hoping for answers. His voice faltered the moment she mentioned the name. Harper Ellison. Olivia, I think you should let it go. Marcus had his reasons. That single sentence made her chest tighten. Why would Ryan sound afraid? The unease deepened when she noticed a small, unfamiliar envelope slipped under her front door later that day. No address, no stamp, just her name, Olivia Hale, written in Marcus's handwriting. Her hands shook as she tore it open. Inside was a folded note and a photograph. The note read, "You'll find the truth at the lake house. Don't go alone." The photo, taken years ago, showed Marcus standing beside a woman with auburn hair, smiling beneath the summer sun. On the back, written in faint ink, were 2 words, "Me and Harper." Olivia's world stopped. The hum of the refrigerator vanished. The sound of the rain faded. All that remained was the image, the stranger's smile, her husband's arm around her waist. Her pulse quickened, a storm rising in her chest. Who was Harper Ellison? And why did Marcus want her to have the lake house? She looked toward the window, the world outside grey and trembling, and whispered, "I need to know who you are." But as she turned to grab her coat, the phone on the table buzzed once. A message appeared from an unknown number. "Stop digging, Olivia. Some truths aren't meant to be found." Her breath hitched and then the power went out. What if the man you loved left behind a secret life, one that's still watching you even after he's gone? The darkness swallowed Olivia's house whole. Only the faint light from her phone glowed in the silence. Her fingers trembled as she stared at that anonymous message. "Stop digging, Olivia." The words crawled under her skin like ice. She whispered, "Who are you?" But only the wind outside answered, brushing against the windows like a warning. She quickly lit a candle, its flickering light dancing on the walls. Every sound now seemed louder. The creak of wood, the ticking of the cooling metal roof. She remembered the note from Marcus. "You'll find the truth at the lake house. Don't go alone." The problem was, she was alone now. The next morning, Olivia forced herself to drive to the small cafe Marcus used to love. She needed answers, and Ryan, her husband's closest friend, might be the only one who had them. When she walked in, the bell above the door jingled softly. The smell of coffee beans and cinnamon filled the air, bringing a false sense of comfort. Ryan sat at a corner table, his eyes red, a cup of untouched coffee before him. He looked up, startled. "Olivia, you shouldn't have come." She sat down anyway. "Then maybe you should stop lying to me." Ryan sighed deeply, rubbing his temples. "It's not what you think." "Then what is it? My husband's will gives our lake house to a woman I've never met, and you act like I should ignore it." He hesitated, his gaze dropping to the table. "Marcus had regrets, things he didn't want to burden you with." Her voice cracked. "Regrets like Harper Ellison?" Ryan froze. The look in his eyes told her everything. He knew exactly who Harper was. He whispered, "Olivia, please, let her stay buried." She stood abruptly, her chair scraping against the floor. "If she's buried, then I'll dig her up myself." As Olivia stormed out, Ryan's warning echoed after her. "If you go to the lake house, don't open the back room." That night, the moon hung low over the still lake as Olivia drove down the winding road leading to the Hale family's old summer home. The air grew colder, the trees pressing closer around the narrow path. Her headlights flickered briefly, as if the car itself wanted to turn back. The house stood silent by the water, its white paint now chipped, its porch covered in leaves. She hadn't been there since Marcus's funeral preparations. The lake shimmered like black glass, reflecting nothing but emptiness. Olivia stepped out, her boots crunching on gravel. The key still fit the lock. The door creaked open with a sound like a sigh. Inside, the air smelled faintly of pine and dust, and something else, something floral. She wandered through the rooms, their photos still hanging on the walls, her handwriting still on the kitchen chalkboard. Then she saw it, a single vase of fresh lilies on the dining table. Her heart stuttered. She hadn't been here in months. Someone had been. She slowly turned toward the hallway, where the air seemed colder. The back door was ajar, swaying ever so slightly with the breeze. Then came a faint creak upstairs. Footsteps. Olivia's pulse raced. "Hello?" No answer, only the whisper of the wind and a single framed photograph falling to the floor behind her. She picked it up and froze. It wasn't a photo of her and Marcus anymore. The frame now held a different picture, Marcus and the same auburn-haired woman from before. Only this time, it wasn't the one from the note. It was new, recent. The date written on the back made her knees go weak. Just 6 months ago. Her heart thudded painfully in her chest as she whispered, "Marcus, what did you do?" But before she could move, her phone buzzed again. Another message from the same unknown number. "You shouldn't have come here." And this time, the message ended with a live location pin. From inside the lake house. What if the secret you're chasing isn't buried in the past, but standing right behind you? The phone slipped from Olivia's trembling hands and hit the floor with a dull thud. That live location pin glowed red. Inside the lake house. For a long moment, she didn't move. The sound of her own heartbeat filled the silence like thunder. "Think, Olivia, think," she whispered. She bent down, picked up the phone, and glanced around. The lights flickered again. Her reflection in the window looked almost ghostly, pale, wide-eyed, terrified. She opened the map app again and saw the dot move. Slowly, from upstairs to the landing, someone was walking toward her. She bolted toward the kitchen and grabbed the nearest thing she could find. A heavy brass candlestick from the counter. The footsteps stopped, then a soft knock, 3 times. Olivia's voice shook. "Who's there?" No reply, only the sound of a door upstairs clicking shut. She forced herself to climb the staircase, one creaking step at a time. Each step brought flashes of memory. Marcus smiling at her on this very staircase, the smell of pancakes on Sunday mornings, his laughter echoing down the hall. The house felt alive with ghosts of what they once were. At the top of the stairs, the air was colder. She could smell lilies again, faint but distinct. She followed the scent to the back room Ryan had warned her about. The door was locked. She pulled a small hairpin from her pocket, a nervous habit she'd picked up from her mother years ago, and tried the lock. It clicked open. Inside, the room looked untouched. White curtains, sunlight filtering through the dust, a writing desk covered with envelopes and photographs. One of them caught her eye, Marcus and a little girl sitting by the same lake outside. Her breath caught. The child had her husband's eyes. The back of the photo read, "Harper and Dad, Summer 2021. Olivia staggered back, her mind spinning. Dad. Marcus had never mentioned a child. Never. Her thoughts twisted into chaos. The will, the mysterious woman, Ryan's warnings. It all tangled together into something dark. She opened the drawers one by one until she found a leather journal with Marcus's handwriting. The first few pages were filled with his usual musings, business notes, reminders. But halfway through, the tone shifted. The entries became short, nervous. August 12th. She found me again. I can't hide this forever. Olivia doesn't know, but she'll hate me when she finds out. August 28th. The lawyer said the only way to protect them both is to name Harper. I pray Olivia forgives me someday. Her knees went weak. Marcus had chosen to name Harper for a reason. Not betrayal, but protection. But from what? She flipped to the last page, and her blood ran cold. If anything happens to me, Ryan will know where to find the truth. Ryan. Olivia's mind raced back to the cafe. His trembling hands, his warning about the back room, his plea to let her stay buried. He'd known all along, maybe even more than Marcus himself. She rushed downstairs, grabbing her coat and keys, her heart pounding. She had to find Ryan before whoever was inside that house found her. As she stepped out into the cold night, her phone buzzed again. Another message. You shouldn't have read his journal. Her breath froze mid-air. The sender's name appeared for the first time. It wasn't Ryan. It wasn't an unknown number. It was Harper Ellison. And the message ended with a chilling line. You're looking in the wrong place, Olivia. He didn't die by accident. The phone slipped again, but this time, Olivia didn't bother picking it up. She looked back at the dark house by the lake, and for the first time, she realized she might not be the only one searching for the truth. If Marcus's death wasn't an accident, who's been watching her every move? Olivia drove through the night like a woman possessed, the headlights cutting through fog and silence. Her hands gripped the steering wheel so tightly her knuckles turned white. Harper's message repeated in her mind like a haunting melody. He didn't die by accident. The lake house shrank in the rearview mirror, but the dread only grew larger. She needed answers, and the only person who could give them to her was Ryan. She reached his cabin just before dawn. The door was half open inside, the faint glow of a lamp flickered. Papers covered the kitchen table, legal documents, maps, even photos of Marcus. One, in particular, made her stop cold. It showed Marcus standing outside the Ellison Foundation building, his arm around Harper. The caption beneath read, Legacy Project 2021. Ryan? She called softly. A floorboard creaked. From the shadows, Ryan stepped forward, tired, hollow-eyed, defeated. I told you not to open that journal, he murmured. You knew about her, Olivia said, her voice trembling. You knew about Harper. Ryan sighed, rubbing his temples. It wasn't my secret to tell. Then whose was it? He looked up slowly, guilt etched into every line of his face. Yours too, in a way. Olivia's breath caught. What are you talking about? Ryan reached into a file and pulled out a birth certificate, yellowed with age, edges frayed. Harper isn't Marcus's affair, Olivia. She's his daughter, but not the way you think. Her stomach flipped. That's impossible. I would have known. He shook his head. Marcus donated to a fertility program before you two ever met. It was years later that Harper's mother, a woman named Lila Ellison, used that donation Harper found out after Marcus's death. She wasn't trying to claim money. She just wanted to know who her father was. Olivia sat in stunned silence, her heart pounding. The journal entries now made sense. The secrecy, the will, the guilt. Marcus hadn't betrayed her. He had been trying to protect a young woman who shared his blood. Tears welled in her eyes. Why didn't he tell me? Why make me believe he'd been unfaithful? Because he thought you'd leave, Ryan said softly. He wanted to make sure Harper had something. He wrote you a letter explaining everything, but... He hesitated. It never reached you. Olivia's mind raced. Where is it? Ryan nodded toward a sealed envelope pinned to the board behind him. I found it in his safe. A week ago, I was trying to figure out the right time to tell you. She tore the envelope open with shaking hands. Marcus's familiar handwriting hit her like a wave. My dearest Liv, if you're reading this, I'm gone. Please know that you were my life's greatest gift. Harper is a part of a mistake I made long before you. Not of love, but of compassion. She doesn't know the full truth yet. I've made sure you both are cared for in my will. Take care of her, as you would have taken care of me. Marcus Olivia pressed the letter to her chest, sobbing softly. The anger that had fueled her for days began to crumble, replaced by sorrow, by understanding. Then Ryan's phone buzzed. He glanced at it and his expression changed from sorrow to horror. He handed it to her. On the screen was a new message from Harper. You shouldn't have gone to him, Olivia. You're both in danger now. The message was followed by a live video feed. The camera shook slightly and showed the lake house. The front door was wide open. A shadow moved inside. Ryan whispered, She's not alone, Liv. Someone else is in that house. Olivia's pulse quickened. The truth had set her free, but now it might get her killed. She finally knows who Harper is. But who's the stranger waiting for her back at the lake house? The morning fog hung low over the lake, curling around the trees like ghosts guarding secrets. Olivia's heart pounded as she and Ryan pulled up to the silent house. The front door, still open from the video, swayed gently in the wind. Every sound felt amplified. The crunch of gravel beneath her shoes, the creak of the porch step, the faint whine of the wind through the eaves inside. The air smelled of damp wood and lavender, Marcus's favorite scent. Ryan whispered, Stay behind me. Olivia shook her head. No, I've run enough, Ryan. This is my house, my life. I need to end this. They stepped inside. The living room was exactly as she'd left it. Except for one thing, Marcus's framed wedding photo with her lay face down on the floor, the glass shattered. Then came a voice from the hallway. You shouldn't have come back, Olivia. Harper stepped into the light, her eyes swollen from crying, but she wasn't holding a weapon. She was holding a small black box. I didn't mean to scare you, Harper said, trembling, but I couldn't let Ryan tell you everything. Not yet. Olivia's breath caught. Harper, what's going on? The younger woman's voice cracked. Someone else knew about my father, someone who wanted his money. They told me if I didn't cooperate, they'd destroy what little I had left. Ryan's face hardened. Who? Before she could answer, a sound came from the back room. Slow footsteps, heavy, deliberate. A man's silhouette appeared in the doorway. Hello, Olivia, the man said smoothly. It was Dean Sullivan, Marcus's former lawyer, the one who had handled the will. Olivia froze. You were Marcus's friend. Dean smiled faintly. Friend, yes, but he didn't trust me enough. He changed his will before he died, left everything to Harper and you, nothing for the foundation I helped build. I couldn't allow that. Ryan stepped forward, anger flashing in his eyes. You manipulated her. Dean shrugged. I gave her a story, and a reason to fear you. You played your parts perfectly. Olivia clenched her fists, her fear slowly giving way to strength. You used my grief to cover your theft. Dean's grin faltered. You won't prove it. Olivia looked at Harper. Is that box what I think it is? Harper nodded. Yes, it's a drive. With every transaction, every payment he made through the Foundation's secret account. Dean lunged forward, but Ryan blocked him, grabbing his arm and twisting until the box clattered to the floor. Olivia darted forward, snatching it up. Call the police, she said, her voice steady. Dean laughed bitterly. You think they'll believe a grieving widow and a confused girl? Olivia took a slow step closer. They'll believe Marcus Ellison's wife, the legal owner of every asset tied to this house, this land, and the Foundation's records. You forged his last signature, Dean. But the truth is right here. She held up the box. And now it's mine. Dean's face drained of colour. Sirens wailed in the distance. Ryan had already hit the emergency alert on his phone. Harper sobbed quietly, clutching her arms as relief and shame flooded her. Olivia turned to her. You were misled, sweetheart, but Marcus would have wanted us to forgive, not fight. Harper nodded through tears. I didn't know who to trust. Olivia touched her hand gently. Now you do. Outside, the police lights flickered across the lake, reflecting like shards of truth in the water. Dean was led away in handcuffs, his arrogance replaced by silence. Olivia stood on the porch, the wind tugging at her hair. For the first time in weeks, she felt steady. She had faced betrayal, uncovered truth, and reclaimed her peace. But as she turned back toward the house, Harper's voice trembled behind her. Olivia, there's something else. Before Marcus died, he told me he left one more message. And it wasn't for you, it was for me. Olivia's breath caught. What message? Harper looked toward the study. He said I'd find it under his piano key. The weight of those words hit Olivia like a chill. The piano, Marcus's most sacred place, where no one but him had ever touched. She thought the truth had been uncovered, but Marcus's final message would reveal one last secret she never saw coming. The following morning, sunlight streamed softly through the lace curtains of the old lake house. The storm had passed, leaving a gentle calm in the air. Birds sang in the garden Marcus had once tended with his bare hands, a melody that felt like peace finally returning home. Olivia stood by the window, holding a cup of tea. Her reflection in the glass no longer looked haunted, just older, wiser, quieter. The house smelled faintly of fresh lilies. Harper had placed them on the mantel that morning. Ryan walked in, his face warm with relief. The police confirmed it. Dean's confession matches every file on that drive. The Foundation funds will go back to the hospital, just like Marcus wanted. Olivia nodded slowly. He always believed in helping others. It's good to see his legacy cleansed of lies. Ryan smiled faintly. You made that happen? She looked down at her hands, still trembling slightly. No, Ryan, I just followed the truth. Marcus left it like a trail, and all I had to do was stop running from it. In the corner of the room sat Marcus's grand piano. It had always intimidated her, like a silent witness to everything she didn't understand about her husband. But now, Harper knelt beside it, gently lifting one of the keys. The one Marcus had mentioned in his message inside, tucked neatly beneath the ivory plate, was a small envelope. Harper's hands shook as she handed it to Olivia. It's addressed to you, she whispered. Olivia's heart squeezed as she unfolded the letter. Marcus's handwriting, steady, familiar, loving, stared back at her. If you're reading this, my love, it means you've met Harper. She's the daughter I never got to know, a reminder of the mistakes I made before you. I kept her hidden because I feared you'd see her as a threat to what we built. But she's not. She's part of the truth I owe you. Take care of her when I no longer can. You two are the only family I've ever truly had. Tears welled in Olivia's eyes, but this time they weren't heavy. They were cleansing. She reached for Harper's hand and squeezed it tightly. He wanted you to be safe, Olivia said softly. And now, maybe we can both give each other that. Harper nodded, tears streaming down her cheeks. I'd like that. I think he'd be happy knowing we finally met. The two women sat together for a long moment, the piano between them like a bridge instead of a barrier. Outside, the lake shimmered in the morning light, no longer a mirror of grief, but of healing. Later that day, Olivia opened the front door wide, letting the cool air sweep through every corner of the house. She smiled faintly as the wind lifted a photo of Marcus and her, taken years ago, before secrets clouded their days. She placed it back on the mantel, next to a new one, a picture of her, Harper, and Ryan, smiling under the same roof Marcus once filled with music. As evening fell, she walked out onto the porch, feeling the wooden boards warm beneath her feet. "You were right, Marcus," she murmured. "The truth didn't destroy us, it rebuilt us." The sun dipped low, turning the lake gold. Harper laughed somewhere inside the house, a sound that made Olivia's heart swell with quiet pride. For the first time since her husband's death, the house felt alive again. She exhaled deeply, her voice gentle and certain. Sometimes, love doesn't end when someone's gone, it just changes shape. She turned toward the camera, her eyes soft, her smile calm. What would you have done if you found a stranger in your husband's will? Would you have stayed or walked away? Tell me in the comments. I'd love to hear your heart. And don't forget to like, subscribe, and join me again for another story about love, loss, and the lessons life never stops teaching.